Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday show. I'm your host for the evening, the One-Ton Hammer, and with me are my two favorite co-hosts in the whole world, Terry Diamantis.
Hello.
And Genty Maxey.
Hello.
Just have to warn everybody out there in YouTube land that it has been storming here in northeastern Pennsylvania. So if I suddenly go bye-byes, you'll at least know what's going on. I have plenty of battery backup and all that kind of stuff, so I should be able to get out of here gracefully, and maybe, I don't know, end the stream or whatever. But if it happens, it happens. There's nothing I'm going to be able to do about it, but hopefully it'll be something I can do in a controlled situation. So
Can I
the show
ask you a
isn't
naive
hanging.
question?
Yes,
Are
absolutely.
you in Tornado Land?
No.
Okay, good.
Just thinking, it doesn't look like our avatars are showing up properly.
Oh.
Oh, it sure doesn't. I wonder what that's all about.
Does that mean you're in Hurricane Land? Because I heard that's a thing too.
Let me see if I can fix that.
Sure.
If you can fix Hurricane Land, I'm gonna call you God.
No, I can't fix Hurricane Land, but I fixed our avatars.
Well, that works.
Yeah.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Sometimes when you start this StreamYard, it puts people in two above, one below.
Yeah.
And that's not how I pull it off the show. There's a second icon in that determines how the screen is supposed to look like in StreamYards. The second icon is the one that we use. So I just clicked on that and put everything in the right place. So
There it
we're all here.
It just was on my screen. It
Yeah.
took a while.
It shows 12 seconds behind what you see on in the live. So
Yeah.
I'll fix just like that. When we were sitting here talking before the show, I was looking. I was like, some doesn't look right here. Must be just my imagination. Sure enough. Anyway, so hopefully it stays nice and calm outside. Right now it's kind of overcast, which is unusual. Halfway between dark and dusk, somewhere in there. So I'm hoping that the bad weather stays away for the duration, a whole hour. All I'm asking for is an hour. So let's go ahead and say hi to chat. Well, everybody's piling in early. I love that.
Yeah.
Mr. Adam, our Sunday host, is here. OG Costin, Kiever Dam, how you doing, sweetie? Camel, how you doing, sweetie? Tall person and Wondering Lisa.
Yeah.
The gang's all here.
So Hammer, I know I made that comment about the tornado and shit.
Yeah.
But I'm just letting you know I had to look you up on the map just to confirm myself. And I have this paranoia when it comes to weather in Canada. And we tend to share weird shit with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just letting you know that your area isn't really too far off from where, Canada just kind of had a little railroad of tornadoes.
It's not like we've never had any kind of bad weather or warnings, but for my entire life, there's never been a tornado anywhere near my house. Now, I have a house in Virginia. Yeah, I have a house in Virginia, and I have seen a tornado with my own eyes there.
Okay. So you know what to look for then, at least a little bit.
It's very easy to tell if there's a tornado coming. First of all, it's dead quiet outside. No birds, nothing. It's dead ass quiet. Also, the sky looks weird. It looks like the sun is closer. You can't see the sun, obviously, because it's overcast because of the tornado. But the sun looks closer to the planet. So instead of being, a certain circumference in the sky, it's much bigger circumference. It's a magnification effect. And the color doesn't kind of look quite right. Because the sky is generally like a variation of some kind of blue. And when I saw the tornado in Virginia, the sky was kind of a mint green color.
I have to go out on my Facebook because unfortunately it's the only place I have that fucking picture. But I actually had two pictures that I took of two tornadoes.
You shouldn't be doing that. You should be getting underground.
The thing is it hadn't touched down yet, and I was like a block away from the bank, which is where I was kind of heading anyway. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take a picture of this and then go to the bank.
When it came through Virginia, it was one of those weird things where you could see the funnel in the sky swirling, and there was a bit of a point to it, but it didn't actually hit the ground. It didn't make it all the way down, but you could see the funnel part of it. And it got about halfway down and it just kind of disappeared after that. So there was no damage, but it was scary. Scary.
I've never been anywhere near a tornado, so if one
And you
happened,
never will be.
I would be terrified.
As long as you stay where you are, you're safe.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, like, if one happened, I would be terrified because I have no experience dealing with them. I'd be like, oh, fuck, I'm going to die.
The most you could see would be, I guess, a water spout. That's about it, because nothing's going to make landfall. You know, down in that latitude of the planet, it's not conducive to tornadoes or even hurricanes. Hurricanes blow themselves out when they get down there. That's all. It's always the equator and above. Go ahead.
Not a lot of natural disasters at all. I mean, we don't get earthquakes. We don't get.
You get forest fires.
Tornadoes. Oh yeah, I mean, but that's one thing out of like all the different natural disasters that there are.
You don't have the smorgasbord. You only have one.
Yeah, I mean,
feels so bad for you. I mean, yeah, feels so bad for you. You don't have a choice. How unfair is that?
It's a bad one. I mean, fire is pretty terrible, but we don't have to worry about earthquakes and tornadoes and hurricanes. We don't even really have to worry about flooding that much. And I live near the water, so
fires aren't really that bad for you either because they're all inland.
Yeah, I mean, where I am now, it's fine. But I used to live in a fire hazard area.
Isn't that like mostly in the Northern Territories area?
No, I mean, I used to live slightly bush, like it was still like in the suburbs, but there was like a mini, I don't know, parkland, but it was like wild, untended. It was just like a nature thing, and yeah, I mean, I never saw it catch fire, but it was definitely the kind of thing that could.
I bet you could smell it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can smell the forest fires from here, and I'm nowhere near them.
Right.
The smell carries really far.
Yeah.
But we get that a lot from our border here too. Like last year, you guys were so much on fire between you and us and BC and Saskatchewan. I was just like, can we just get the marshmallows everywhere?
But it was mostly west side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was in my old job. I had to travel to Florida on a regular basis, and they had a whole deal with fire there, and it stunk, man. I mean, burning wood. If you just take a wood and put it in a wood stove and it burns the wood, it smells nice. I mean, I like the smell of burning wood, but when it comes to like being actually like a swamp or a forest fire on fire, man, that's a terrible smell.
I mean, when it's been summer here, I've been able to smell like that ashy smell in the air, and like there's nothing anywhere near me that's going to catch fire, but like the smell carries that far, like on the wind.
Yeah, when California was on fire last year, it interrupted our weather here. Our weather was different because of it, and the guy on the TV actually said this is the reason why all the temperatures have dropped. He says it's because there's so much smoke in the air that the sun really can't get through as much as it normally does. That's why temperatures have dropped 8 degrees.
Yeah.
Or whatever that value is. Coconoids in chat. Hello, Coconoid.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, hopefully we don't have to deal with fires this year. I really haven't heard anything from anybody in California about it being too incredibly hot there, even though like today was 83 here, which is pretty fucking hot for me. It never gets much more than that. I mean, you'll never see 90 where I live now.
But it is pretty funny because I've been watching, there's this like channel, Ryan George. He does like comedy sketches, and like watching his old stuff, like from like 2020, he's like talking about how like Australia's on fire as if like it's this like really terrible thing. And all the comments are like, yeah, we know something else that happened in 2020 that just puts everything else is like makes it seem minor.
Yeah. But let's why don't we go ahead and dip into some of our subjects tonight. I don't know what you guys want to talk about. Do you have a preference?
Not really. I mean, I spent most of this afternoon waiting in anticipation for the Johnny Depp, but now that I've got the response, I've spent most of the afternoon off and on basically shitting on people who are pro Amber Heard because they're full of shit and kind of really sexist, to be quite frank. But also I just felt relieved afterwards. So I was just kind of in mellow, like, I just want to relax mode.
Yeah, I guess you've heard, Terry, right?
Of the Johnny Depp thing,
Yeah.
I mean, I've been trying to avoid it, to be honest, because like I don't have that much interest. It's just like two celebrities having a court case that, I mean, I nominally wanted Johnny to win because everything I've heard paints Amber as the villain. But I mean, from what Claudia has been saying, Johnny Depp's got some bad stuff in his history too. So I was just staying out of it. It's like, yeah, if it comes out that Amber was lying, then I hope she's punished for it. If Johnny was abusive, I hope he's punished for it.
Well, she's been punished because she lost the case. She owes him $10 million, so she's being punished, at least monetarily. Green Badger Outdoors, welcome to chat, man. And Assassin of the Gray.
It's just everything that came out kind of pointed it as though everybody else around Johnny, including Johnny, was the liar. And the only person who's telling the truth really is just Amber, you know, and she's just the most amazing makeup artist. And she just has this miracle cream, but you could drag her through glass, punch her several times in the face while wearing rings, and yet you can just cover that up over a day.
Yeah. She's very Jussie Smollett.
Johnny is a lot more likable than Amber. Like, from what I've seen of the court case, which is not that much, but Johnny's come across as very charming, very likable, very nice guy, and Amber has just not.
It's the take she went with. If she had been honest and been like, okay, listen, Johnny is a closet abuser. Not that he abuses her, but he abuses the furniture. I would have bought that. And if that's what she wanted to use to escape the marriage, if that's what she wanted to do, I would have been okay with that, because fair enough. But here's the thing, though. He was the one who wanted to file a divorce. The only reason that she did was because she got heads up first. Well, she wasn't about divorcing him. In fact, I wouldn't be at all surprised if he didn't have some kind of restraining order on her, or if he didn't have his calls monitored, that she doesn't still try to phone him all the time. To be quite frank,
the big win here is the defamatory remarks. That's where he got her.
Oh yeah,
all the little things. But I'm going to have kind of a bad take, and you guys can criticize me if you want, because I can understand.
You're the worst, Hammer.
I am the worst. I didn't say it had to be a bad criticism. Anyway, I'm glad Johnny won. You guys know my background. I believe that guys are in a bad situation when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I'm glad that he won.
Oh, definitely.
I think it was a correct justification. I think it was, the court did the right thing. But I think that we've gotten a little too gleeful about the downfall of Amber Heard. I'm not really sympathetic to her. Don't take my what I'm saying the wrong way. But I think a lot of people have gone a little too far about giving her shit. She did what she did, but she didn't do anything that a lot of women don't already do. It's not like we should single her out and say she is the worst. No, actually, that's not what happened there. Is not uncommon for divorce court in everyday life. Every woman will say he hit me. Every woman will try to get money. Every woman will try to make her story the victim's story. This is very typical. This is not out of the ordinary. It's that this one time, they didn't get away with it. But there's a lot of people out there that are kind of gleeful, and I'm like, well, that's a little too far.
The unfortunate thing is, part of that might be a little bit mixed feelings for Johnny. And the thing is, Hammer, you got to understand, a lot of men who go through abuse have female family members. Mm-hmm. You know, you have family members who see that kind of shit and they advocate for you. But just like how a man might hesitate to advocate for himself, women don't get listened to either when we advocate to other women. Like I could talk to a feminist till I'm blue in the face and be like, I have heard stories from men that have made me cry because it was just so unfair.
But I would say the fact that Amber is no worse than a normal woman is why there's so much glee. It's like finally someone didn't get away with it. Finally, like
that's what it is. It's also and I know this sounds weird to say. I am not necessarily a huge Johnny Depp fan. Like, I know lots of his movies, but I can't claim to know all of his movies. He's also one of those guys who's just done that. But I also remember him as the guy who taught me that following celebrities around all the time was fucking weird. You know, and it's one of those things where I appreciate from Terry is like, yeah, I do think that the media hyped up this thing too much. For one thing, they did it in Amber's favor to begin with. But it was too hyped up. There's way more important things going on in the world than Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's divorce. But that wasn't the problem. The problem is for a lot of people growing up who are around my age, even maybe even not even Hammer's age, because you're older than me. But for me, Johnny Depp is kind of like an older brother in the weirdest way. Like, I'm not related to that guy. I don't know shit about him. Like, there's a lot of stuff he's gone through in his life that I don't know fuck all about. But because of his influence on me in the media through stuff that he's done, it's that feeling of big brother. And I know enough about his story to know that, yeah, he has gone through abuse before. I knew about his mom. I don't
even know that many Johnny Depp movies, so I've got no connection to him. It's like, I know he was in like Willy Wonka, and I know he was in Edward Scissorhands. And obviously everyone knows he was Jack Sparrow. But other than that, I don't know what he's been in. So I've got like no love or hate for the man. It's just, oh, he's that actor that everyone talks about.
And the other movies that I remember him was in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Because I'm a movie guy, so I'm going to probably remember more movies than you would anyway. No shade. The Libertine, he was in Libertine. He was in Secret Window. They're not stand-up performances, but they were good. He was excellent in Blow.
Wait, I think he was also in Nightmare on Elm Street, wasn't he?
He was in Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah.
Maybe you're getting them.
No. He was like one of the guys that didn't he get killed on a bed in the first Nightmare on Elm Street?
He was in Donnie.
He might have been, because he was in a lot of stuff when he was younger too.
Gilbert Grape.
Yeah.
He was in Gilbert Grape. I'm looking on IMDb. 21 Jump Street.
That first TV show that he did.
I don't see. Oh yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street. Alternate endings, scary ending. It was a video short. No, below that, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah, the first one in 1984. He was in it. He played Glenn Lance.
So.
Yeah,
he's lying on the bed, and Freddy's claw just sort of like comes up under the bed and kills him. I think something like that.
Yeah, that was his first movie.
Yeah, like I said, it's that little bit of like, okay, so I've just watched this woman like destroy what is kind of like a brother figure to me, somebody that I know has actually been harmed before by a family member, knowing that kind of vulnerability doesn't leave you just because you're almost in your 60s. Just so you know, like if you were mentally abused as a child, there's a good chance that stuff like that will still trigger you later on in life. And a lot of the things that he saw in her was like, yeah, she's beautiful. Oh, she kind of reminds me of my mom. Well, he found his mom dead. She'd killed herself. You know, his relationship with his mom, he was seeing so much of that in her. That brings out like little sister or like family figures in fans, or even just people who don't even know him because they've seen him so many times. You know, even in interviews, like things where he was expressing humanity to people. Like my first real encounter with him, I was too young for. I was probably 12 and a half and too young for like the depth of conversation. But he was talking about the kind of fans that stalk you, you know, the kind of women that send you stuff that's inappropriate, the kind of women who do things to you that, like, if it was a man doing it to a woman, would be completely unacceptable. Yeah. And he was saying that stuff even back then. And that same year, and Diana died that same year. So my brain connected the two as like, okay, people who do that shit are toxic. Like, this is a problem for a group of people that honestly, they're entertainers. Outside of the interviews they do, it's none of my business how they live their life. Unless it's illegal. Unless it's illegal and it affects people, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, OJ Simpson killing someone, that's obviously not something where you can just chalk it up as, oh, well, who cares how they live their life? It's like, as long as what they're doing is legal and, you know, not hurting anyone, who fucking cares? I mean,
and I stand by that with the trial. Like, I really didn't watch a lot of the trial. I watched some of it, but I couldn't watch all of it because I was seeing things that she was doing during that trial where I was just like, she is mentally tormenting him in front of people. That's a lot of what the hype is a lot of the people who are watching him are survivors of abuse, different kinds of abuse, but abuse. And when you see that kind of stuff, like they do see that kind of stuff. This is why I didn't really care for the Me Too movement, because it wasn't that the message was wrong. It was the way they were presenting the message that was wrong.
I mean, the message was wrong. The message was believe all women, which is
yes,
total crock of shit.
And that was the wrong message. It was like, okay, well, you know, let's listen to potential victims of abuse. Listen to them. That's fine. Give them a shout. Like let them have a chance to get their story out. Maybe at the time they couldn't speak on it because fear is a real thing, you know. And sometimes the cops can't help you. Can't. Like, maybe they can't get enough evidence to do anything, and there's just nothing you can do.
If the message had been listen to all women, that would be different than believe all women. Like, if someone comes forward with an allegation, take it seriously. That's the least you can do. Just look into it, verify it, and make sure that things are as they say they are. And if it turns out to be valid, then, you know, go forward from there. If it's not, then you say, look, sorry, we can't substantiate your claims and there's nothing we can do.
Yeah, that's kind of my deal with it. And the other deal that I have with the two is the part where it's gonna I hope that if it can do anything, if he can do anything for the system, it's going to allow men a better chance with the system. And I don't know that that's going to be a thing, because Johnny's a popular guy. He's a famous guy. I don't doubt some of the people cheering on for him were doing it for petty reasons, like, oh, well, he's a hottie, you know, because there's gross people like that too. But
unless the man is as famous as Johnny Depp, it's not going to move the needle on how men are treated in court.
Yeah, that's exactly the tweet that I sent to Weibo, because she made the same point. She was like, "Oh, this will help men's rights." And I was like, "No, this is not going to make any difference whatsoever." She didn't reply to me, but
that's where I'm sad. You know, like I know it might not do a lot of anything, but like would it hurt for some of those women who for so long have turned a blind eye to men in the same situation, when in all honesty you would think it would be better for abuse victims in the first place if they came together. I think that did do something. I think that alone did something, because some of those women did have conversations with men who have had abuse situations. You know, at least that conversation might have started.
You know what would have sold me on the Me Too movement as something to actually take seriously? If they'd said, and now we'll listen to Corey Feldman and all his accusations of child molestation when he was a kid.
Yes.
If that had been like, and as part of it, we're like finally going to listen to him, then okay, no, you're serious. But it was always just, fuck men, women are the best. And I'm not going to get behind that message.
You shouldn't. Because it's not for one thing, it's not equality.
No,
you know, it's not equality.
Long since abandoned the quest for equality,
and it's really honestly not going to solve the issue, because like Johnny, yet again, I'm going to use Johnny as an example because he is kind of an example. If his mom was the abuser, then that's kind of a sign that it's passed down a little bit. I'm not saying it's an inherited trait. I'm saying it's things where you're seeing it, you know, so
it's environmental. It's like how you're raised is going to affect,
you know, so just how Amber might be how she is, like and I don't know if this is true or not too, because yet again, this is stuff I heard through other people. She might be who she is because of her dad. Her dad, from what I've heard, is exactly like her. So the system of abuse, it goes to both Both genders get it. They both pick it up. They both pick up both sides of the traits. Sometimes they become like mom and sometimes they become like dad. And it doesn't matter who the perpetrator is. That's a possibility for both. You know, I hope, if anything, Johnny takes his time to relax, enjoy his life, spend time with his family, and actually go see a shrink for your problems, though. Like, don't just rely on drugs. Go actually see like a therapist and stick with it. Even if you have to do it until you're 100, you might have to.
Well,
I don't think Johnny Depp's going to live to 100.
It seems like his kids are doing okay. I mean, he called his daughter Mercedes. I don't know if he came up with that name for that's a hooker's name. But that point aside, she seems pretty based, pretty centered, and so does his son. So he's been a good dad to them. I'm sure that helped, you know, with all of this, because he said in his statement afterwards, you know, I owed this to my kids to get to, so that everybody knew the truth. So he did it as much to clear his name. He did it every bit as much to stabilize the family too. So hopefully it's completely gone from news and it can be out of the news cycle and can move on to something else.
Oh yeah, absolutely. More important things like, you know, real life and not just fantasy land, which is what celebrities kind of are.
Well, you're already kind of moving on because you have to deal with King Justin.
Do you notice what my avatar is? Batman, the Batman. He finds this hilarious.
Well, it looks like something Kefke could come up. It looks like one of her Tobin's little guys.
It's a dog seal. It's a
seal? Okay. Well, why is that important?
Oh, well, you know what we do to them up here.
You club them.
Now just imagine if this seal had a gun, motherfucker. Don't bring a club to a gunfight.
Is that Canada's thing with the clubbing the seal? I thought that was other countries.
I don't think we actually club them anymore. I do believe that we do kill the odd seal pup. It has to do with it's kind of like when you have too many boars.
Yeah, for Pennsylvania, it's deer. We come in and we wipe out a certain percent to keep the population in check.
Now, it's not to exploit them. Like at the time, we were selling fur products with it because it was like, well, you know, if we have to do it, we might as well sell it. I don't doubt they still sell some stuff, but on the market, you're not going to get that anymore. Like it's going to be a rare thing. This kind of thing goes to the natives usually if they're taking out pups. But they do it because the adults are monsters. The adults are monsters. When they become big, these are not this guy here. Like this guy is a different seal. Like he's an entirely different breed. This is the little guy that ends up looking like the circus seal. You know, he's a different breed. He's a much smaller breed. He can't do much to you. Like he could still hurt you. He could still bite you and hurt you a lot in that way. Maybe drown you.
But not a big threat.
But the seal that we talk about, the white, cute, super cute pup, ends up growing up to be a lion seal. Those are the big fuckers on the beach that beat the shit out of each other and take down like polar bears.
And what kind of seal is the one that gets a kiss from the rose?
You know, that's the black dude.
Okay.
I haven't seen him in a long time, but you know, I don't know his last name either.
I can look it up.
Yeah, Costin said they still club. I just kind of figured they would go with something like a gun, but I don't know. Like whatever.
Canada can't have guns.
Well,
that was the reason. It's the reason why I mentioned Trudeau in the first place. Is he can't have guns out there anymore.
Well,
Seal's name is Henry Samuel. So there you go.
Oh, there you go.
He's got some weird middle names, but his first name is Henry and his last name is Samuel.
Yeah, for the record, I don't like necessarily harming animals outside of what you have to, but it's kind of a thing. These little guys tend to destroy everything in their path. They're kind of like wolves. It's kind of like the wolves that you guys have. They come back. They're never going to go extinct. They're very good at what they do. But the problem is they're too good at what they do. So, you know, and here's the thing, the Inuits use them for a lot of things. Like they eat them, they use the blubber, sometimes they use the hide. It's not like they're being thrown away. It's no different from people eating the food that they naturally eat.
Venison?
Yeah. They have caribou. It's just they don't have as much caribou. That's more of a Russian thing, but we got them too. You know, they come over, you know, they came over too. Ice bridge and all that shit. Kind of like how Sweden has moose. Did you know Sweden has moose? I didn't know that.
I knew that Sweden had moose because in I think it was Holy Grail, the captions say a moose bit my sister, and it's the Swedish subtitles.
Right? I was like, wow. I thought we capitalized that here in Canada, but no, the Swedes have them too. So, you know, there's this thing where but you know what they don't have in England? They don't have beavers.
I don't think I've ever seen a beaver in my life.
Sorry to hear that.
No, you come from a place with different rats.
Yeah.
But you know, I heard about this documentary from like the 60s or something where they had this plan to drop beavers into areas where there's desert biomes because beavers are really good at creating forest biomes. And so they were parachuting beavers into areas just to see if they could do it without killing them all. And most of them survived, actually. I mean, the beavers looked really confused and dizzy and like kind of pissed off, but you know.
I see great minds are thinking alike. Assassin of the Grey made the same point as me about Monty Python.
Well, I had a Swedish guy show me pictures of moose in Sweden. He was like, see, I got moose too. And I was like, yeah, well, my moose are bigger than your moose. And he was like, fair enough.
So yeah, I do get where Hammer was going with that, and that beaver is not a term that we use down here to refer to vaginas. I mean, when I first saw The Naked Gun, I did not understand the joke because that is not a term that I'd ever heard used for a vagina.
It's regional, I guess.
Okay, yeah. I might be saying shit out of my ass again, but what about platypus?
I mean, we don't refer to vaginas as those either.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's regional differences. I'm sure anybody from the UK who happens to be in chat or listening to this show has a much different idea of what a fanny is than what you do in America.
Yeah. I mean, when I heard fanny pack, I sort of thought that was hilarious. Like,
the funny thing is, it does kind of sit in front of the abdomen, you know. Yeah. So it is kind of like some people could think, oh, it's intentionally named that way. No, it's supposed to be turned around and sit on your butt, because in America the butt is the fanny.
Yeah, because I thought it was supposed to be like a pussy pouch.
Right. Right.
Okay,
apparently not.
I got another one for you, Terry. Sheila. Calling a lady or a woman Sheila, but what if the woman's name actually is Sheila?
Oh, right.
I mean, Sheila is very old-fashioned. I never heard people use Sheila as a term for women growing up. But if you watch like Crocodile Dundee, you'll probably see it there. But
yeah, he mentions it twice.
It's an outdated thing. We don't do that at all that I've seen in my lifetime, anyway.
But it's not really too derogatory. We're not talking about a specific body part.
No, it's not derogatory at all. It's just a name for her.
It's just a weak woman, I take it?
No, it's just a woman. A Sheila is just a woman.
Oh, okay.
It's not derogatory. It's just what they used to call them.
Used in context in the movie, he's talking about how she's just a Sheila.
Yeah, in that women are not as strong as men.
Right.
So if he's saying you're just a Sheila, he's saying, well, you're just a woman. I mean, obviously you're not going to be as capable as a man.
Right. That's why I kind of got the idea that Sheila was because why wouldn't he just say you're just a woman? Why did he have to say you're just a Sheila? Why did he have to use that terminology?
Because he's playing up Australian stereotypes. That's why he said Sheila.
Right. But from a young kid just watching a movie, the impression is, "Ooh, Sheila's a bad word."
No, it's not. It's just
Yeah.
what they used to refer to women as.
It's also
like calling a man a
saying
bloke.
that Sheila was the proto Karen, but
You
not
still
really. It's
you
like,
still
no
use
shit.
that, don't you? You still use bloke.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm just saying, it's the female equivalent of calling someone a bloke. It's not an insult at all. It's just the word they used to refer to women.
I wonder why
It's just
one's dropped and the other is not.
I wasn't judging it for it, Terry. It's just I actually know a fair number of Sheilas.
No,
I was like, I kind of wish I still knew them so I could ask them, like, have you ever been to Australia?
Well, I mean, my mum's name is Karen, and so
Oof.
Karen becoming a colloquial term for what it means is like she's delighted. She thinks it's hilarious, but I can imagine a lot of women named Karen would be quite put out by having their name synonymous with insufferable bitches.
Well, yeah, I know some really nice Karens too. I'm like, don't worry, you're not that Karen. You're the Karen everybody likes. The Karen they're talking about is the Dane Cook.
The first 3 girls I dated when I was in my teens were all named Karen. 3 Karens in a row. Which worked out as a benefit for me because I couldn't, call them by the wrong person's name because the other person was named Karen too, so I was pretty safe. But the first one spelled her name Caryn.
That's incorrect.
Yeah, and then the other 2 spelled them normally Karen, no big deal. But yeah, my first love, Karen, Caryn, and a match not made in heaven. Being a Catholic boy myself and a Jewish girl.
Okay.
Yeah, it didn't work out too well. Her mom did not like me at all.
It's funny. My first relationship ended because of religious differences too, where she was very, very. She wasn't Catholic. She was Protestant, but she was very, very religious, and I'm an atheist. And like she was saying, look, there is no way we can get married if you're not a believer and I am. It's just I will only marry someone who shares my faith. And it's like if this isn't leading towards marriage, then realistically,
we're wasting our time.
I need to stop it before it gets anywhere, so that she can find someone who she can marry.
Yeah.
It makes me think of my favorite Karen. This lady I worked with. I think she was in her 40s, and she was super chill. She was the kind of lady to get stoned with her adult children, and she changed stores, and I meet up with her. She's like, so I met this guy who goes to work with a raccoon tail tied to his ass, and he's got a cap with raccoon ears. This is in like the early 2000s, and she's just like, I don't know what to think. So she's the kind of lady to just ask a person, be like, so what's up with the tail? And the guy's like, I'm a furry. And she's like, so what's a furry? And he's like, well, I'm a spirit kin. And so she's like, what's a spirit kin? It's like, well, I view myself as a raccoon. And so she's like, so you're a raccoon? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, so have you ever been in the trash can?
Good question.
Because raccoons go in the trash. That's what they do.
The trash pandas.
They're trash pandas. And he's like, well, no. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, what about the trees? Like, do you climb trees? And he's like, well, no. I'm like, oh, okay. She is just the kind of lady that I really wish they would put on a TikTok. Because when she encounters somebody like a furry or like somebody legit just different, she's not mean. She's literally your mom's friend asking
her innocence to the subject matter is just unwavering.
But she sounded like Bobby's mom from the cartoon Bobby's Life, or I don't know if you remember that.
I can't remember. I think it was Bobby's World with Howie Mandel. Is that the one?
Yeah.
I can't even remember anything about that show. It's been that long since I watched it.
So yeah, basically. So you're a dumpster diver. She was just like that. Yeah. She would just. I love women I love people like that. It's just
beautiful naivete.
Well, it's just they get you to admit to stuff.
It's kind of like the little kid saying, "Why?
Yeah, don't you know? Yeah, she did that. Oh, she was great.
Yeah, my mom's kind of the same way. She's, oblivious to all the little indecencies of the planet.
Well,
So,
it's not hateful, she's coming at you from a position of like, well, you're probably a lovely person, but you're doing your own thing.
benefit of the doubt. She's just a little naive to what's going on in the world. Not a bad thing.
Nope, I cherish those people. I think the world should cherish them more. Hi, Jack. I don't think you're one of those people, Jack. I'm pretty sure you're not that naive. I'm pretty sure you're well aware of the shit you're getting into.
Jack is early?
Yeah,
I just told him to go away and come back in 20 minutes.
Jack, we're not going to shut down the show. You're going to have to live with 20 minutes of it. So, yeah, speaking of shooters.
We're going to talk about Happy Gilmore. There
was one around my parts today. About 25 miles away from farm. We had a shooter in the nearest big city near me. And I sent a message out on Twitter about it. I don't know what the resolution was. And I don't know the story. I haven't been able to catch anything on the news, but there was an active shooter at the Walmart in the city. So one of my friends' cell phone thing went off with a warning. For some reason, my iPhone, either I've blocked the service that does that or I don't have the service or whatever. But I don't get notified of Amber Alerts or any of that kind of stuff. But he gets notified of everything. And he says, oh, because I was mentioning earlier before you got on the show that I was working in my yard. So he was helping with my riding lawnmower. Needs a new battery. And he brought up his charger to see if we can charge the battery. But the battery's toast, so I have to buy a new one. In any case, he pulled out his phone. And he's got one of those Android phones. That the thing is like a mini iPad. It's huge. It's like a good, I don't want to compare sizes and sound, weird, but it's much bigger than I have a Max 7 iPhone. I know it's old. But his phone was significantly larger. So I just looked over his shoulder and he was like showing me the warning. And it was like, yeah, there's been an active shooter in the city, not like 25 miles from me. I'm out in the middle of nowhere.
Camel saying there was one in Tulsa as well.
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
so like
Tulsa, we know.
Another one.
I don't know what's going on. It's not indicative of where I live to have a shooter of any kind. It's
really,
just not.
We need to ban guns.
I don't think it's that. I think I wouldn't be surprised if it isn't a bunch of. And I know I'm going into I'm sorry, I'm going to conspiracy theory. Susan, don't hate me for it. I know you were into Dems and stuff like that. But I'm sorry, the last couple of kids that came out with the shooty shit, they were Dems, regardless of what color they were. There's this default that comes into question when it comes back to the same stuff. They're in blue states. I know you're not. Are you in a blue state?
I am.
Yeah, it's in a blue state. They're Dems. They're in places where there's, I don't know about your gun area because I don't know the U.S. that well in terms of that stuff. But it's in a lot of areas where there's not a lot of guns. It's kind of like I'm gonna pick the school where everybody has a gun, or I'm gonna pick the Walmart where nobody has a gun. Which one am I gonna go shoot up? And if you know that right now, I wouldn't be surprised if this isn't a series of either copycats. Or literally people who want the guns to be taken from everybody, and they're going out to do it. They're going to make sure that they get rid of the guns, and they are. So if these people were Muslims, I would call them the Allahu Akbar people.
Allahu Akbar.
But the democratic version, if that makes more sense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not good at definitions, but I'm good at describing imagery.
Camel says 5 dead, including the shooter in the Tulsa one. So
yeah, it's sad. It's just crap. That's what it is. But I stand by what I said. I feel like this is the Dems going Allahu Akbar. and then pointing it at the Republicans. You guys are the party of dead children. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
As though that's not disgusting.
I got into a 2-day Twitter rant with a guy who was just an absolutist about getting rid of guns. And we had a conversation for a good, it spanned 2 days. Every 10, 15 minutes back and forth. But the problem I have with him is that, and the problem I've had with everybody who's been talking about guns, is they don't come up with a reasonable path to take. They just want to disregard the Second Amendment, disregard human rights, disregard everything, and do things that are not going to ever happen. If they would just say to me, we should harden the schools, I'd be like, perfect. Let's do that. That's something we can do. Takes away nobody's rights, protects the kids. Beautiful. But not one of them have ever said that. All of them say, get rid of the AR-15s, get rid of the Second Amendment.
Get rid of anything that could conceivably be used to hurt anyone ever. Just wrap the entire world in bubble wrap.
Right.
And yeah, then we'll finally be safe.
And so, I got this thing in the UK, there's been no school shootings. And I was like, have there been mass shootings? And I said, yes. So what's to stop it from being a mass shooting at a school? But there haven't been any. I know we've already made that point, and I've agreed with you, but what's to stop it from happening? Well, it hasn't happened. I know it hasn't happened. You're not. And he's intentionally not answering the question.
Yeah. Because he knows it makes him look bad. None of mine's his point.
I would also like to point out there are other places in the world where, they do have lots and lots and lots of guns. And I would like to also point out in those countries, they don't use guns to shoot up the schools. They use bombs. I'm just saying it's not always guns. Sometimes it's other things like media.
Under my bubble wrap regime, bombs would be banned too. So would cars and knives and
screwdrivers, nail cutters.
Yeah. Anything heavy. So like, hammers can't have those.
But they don't understand.
Not hammers. Hammers rule.
People are going to get those things anyway, regardless. The other thing I was going to ask, and this is just one of those ones where I don't know the gun law system in the U.S. either. Like, for some of this, I do end up having to speak out of my ass from ignorance. But I know that you guys do background checks for people with mental illness. I do know that's a fact.
Well, we do background checks in general.
Yeah.
Not specifically for mental illness, but just, do you have a criminal record? Have you ever shown signs? Have you been abusing your wife? That kind of stuff.
So for that one, it's not about changing laws. Like that's one of those things where, yet again, unless you know what you're talking about, I don't think that you should. So this is just me putting it out more of like a blank question statement. But like, if you know that you could get something back that has that, like the mental part, or at least some way of knowing if the person could have that problem, I don't know. Like, that's the problem. Like, there's so many ways that you can lie in that system. And with that kid's story, like, there were so many things going on with that looked like they were kind of hiding the story too. Or like the story kept changing, or somebody had something over here, something over there. And that's kind of how it always is with these shooters. Yeah, I just don't know. Like, if it comes to the mental stuff, like, I kind of assume you guys do have checks. But
we have something that a lot of states have been willing to put in called red flag laws, where if you're reported to the police for doing something crazy, like killing cats and putting them in plastic bags and showing them to your friends can call the police and say, that guy's a fucking Looney Tune. And they can use the red flag laws of that state, if they have them, to come and take your guns. And that's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. Because, and here I am going to be blaming women again, but if you're in a relationship with a woman and she just doesn't like you, she'll call the police and say, he was doing kooky things and he has guns. So here's a perfectly innocent guy getting his guns taken away without due process. That's a bad thing. So it's an issue. One way or another, it's an issue.
Getting rid of due process in general is a terrible thing. So
it's one of those ones, like, I just don't think there's an easy solution there. And the
But
other one too is
there are
like,
things we can do, but nobody
yeah,
wants to do the things we can do. And the
yeah,
reasons they give are not
mhm,
good reasons for not doing the things they can do. When I
well,
have said, let's harden the schools, the
mhm,
response I get back doesn't make any sense. The response I always get back is, well, I don't want our schools to be prisons. And that's jumping to conclusions. You can harden a school without anybody noticing that you've done it.
mhm. Yeah, I mentioned a couple of ways they could do it. I think on Pat's stream, I mentioned that it is possible to put a system in where you could lock the doors to every classroom without the kids ever knowing, based off of in between recess.
It's part of hardening the
Or
schools. You put a button in every room that the teacher has access to, but no one else does. That if they
Hmm.
hear anything or see anything, they just push the button, everything's locked down immediately, right then and there.
I mean, it works for tardy list kids anyway. I mean, if you were late, you had to stand outside anyway.
I don't
So
know
I
if you want to
mean,
put the entire school into a panic because someone was tardy, but yeah, you're right.
Well, rules are rules, Hammer. You break the rules. It
but I mean,
calls for
that's what we tell the
measures.
kids. Hey, if you're late for class, the doors are locked, and then you're going to stand out there for a minute until I open the door for you.
If someone's late, they hit the button and the security guard runs out, hands the kid a weapon and says, "You're under arrest." I
No,
was
I
just
mean, I
late,
mean
man.
the teacher presses a button, the
Yeah.
kid comes into the class. I mean, most of those. I mean, I don't like every school has different doors. Like I remember ours had a glass plane to it. Like your principal or any security guard could walk by, look in the classroom, see what's going on. Like you can
Again,
have.
that would be part of hardening the school. Instead of having glass, have 1-inch plexiglass that's bulletproof.
Mhm.
He can still
That's
see in, but nobody can shoot through it.
Nobody
Yeah.
has to know that. Kids don't necessarily have to know that. They could just be
Yeah.
like, well, hey, it's less likely to break from you. Kids can break glass too. Just saying.
Yeah, but I mean, you
Just
put a half-inch lining of lead in the middle of the
Mhm.
door, so if somebody tries to shoot through the door, the lead stops it. Again, hardening the school, no one would know the difference.
Yeah.
And granted, the police still get in, but they would be shooting at the lock. And they'd be shooting at the lock with something sizable, not just an AR.
Someone made a good point that I saw on Twitter where they had a picture of like a shiv that someone made in prison. It's like, this proves that even in the most controlled environment
Mhm.
possible, people who want to kill find a way to do it.
Sure,
Mhm.
sure. It's Jurassic
And
Park.
like,
Life will find a way.
yeah, but like, if you can think of any more like heavily scrutinized and controlled environment than a literal prison, I mean, and then they still find ways to kill each other.
Well,
Yep.
I had another point, and it wasn't a nice thing to say, but it was an honest one. A lot of the kids who go with the shooting thing, and I'm not saying it because guns are easy, but I'm saying it because a lot of times boys, when I think about boys, they will go with something that seems like something they can do or something they've heard of. Well, they have heard of the shootings, not because guns are being pushed on them, but because the media has pointed out, well, you can go and do this. Well, it's very back in the day, kids were actually more smart than our kids are. I hate to break it to you, but our school system has made our kids kind of retarded. But back in the day, there were kids who were fully capable of chemistry sets, capable of poisoning their neighbors. England has studies on it. They had documentaries on kids. All it takes is one kid to figure out that ricin is a little bean. And then if you put it in a little envelope and then just put a little envelope in every kid's locker and every kid's desk, all it takes is for them to open up the envelope, be like, there's a little bean. It would take a lot less than a bunch of bullets. And ricin, still probably illegal. But you know what? People get their hands on it. They do.
No, it can't happen. Not if it's been banned.
Right?
Never
Right.
happens.
Keyword Name has a point that I make for people when they talk about this. If you're so worried about the schools and hardening is an issue, why not just homeschool? And the response I get from that is equally doesn't make sense. We're talking about the lives of children here, and that's what they're in my ear about. Lives of children, lives of children. You don't care about children, lives of children. And I say, well, homeschool. Well, you can't do that because people have to work. Yeah, but what's at stake here is the lives of children. Keep that in
Mhm.
mind because that's what you attacked me with, lives of children. If children's lives are at stake, you can't make homeschooling work. We just spent 2 years living at home because of COVID, but homeschooling can't work? What have we been doing the last 2 years? We've been fucking homeschooling.
I mean, they also don't want to spend all day with their own kids. Who wants that?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't want it. That's for sure.
Well, heck, up here, we probably could have set something up as it is, because we laid off a bunch of our teachers. All it would really take is for maybe 1 or 2 retired teachers to be like, hey, I'll take on a block of kids and I'll homeschool them for
Right,
you.
absolutely. They call them community homeschooling here in the States. You can certainly do
She
that.
gets a little bit of money, and your kids get
a
better
good
education.
teacher. Yeah, a good teacher. Somebody with experience knows how to take care of kids. And because everybody knows everybody, there's not going to be people who are acting out too much because they know everyone knows everybody. So
it was something that I said ages ago, even up to the college system. Are there some courses where you should spend some time at the college? Yes. But most of the time, if you're just doing a lecture, you could do that on YouTube with a stream and get more people. And it would be the same thing. You'd still have interaction because you can slow down the chat. I've seen everybody who was doing the Johnny Depp stuff, like, even the little guys were getting up to 10 to 13,000 people watching. You slow down the chat and they can read you. Like Tim Pool, he's not reading his chat because he's a lazy fuck. That's why he's hired people to do it for him. Because I tell jokes all the time, and I know they're laughing at those ones because they were inappropriate. But they slow down their chat so they can do that. They can read for things like questions or concerns, or if something like there was an actual fight going on in the chat, they do that so that they can moderate it properly.
Sure.
So you can do that with a school system. Now, would I want that the way that they've done it with COVID? No, because they've proven that they can handle that. But I think a lot of stuff could be done different than what we've done. We just choose not to, because the system, we hold on to an archaic system for no reason.
Well, just think if the nuclear family was still a thing, homeschooling would not even be an issue.
No.
True.
The husband be at work, the mom would be at home with the kids, teaching them. Problem solved.
That's how I was raised.
Yeah, me tue. I mean, I had a father who worked and the mother who was home, but I still had to go to school.
I went to school. I'm just saying I had a mother who stayed home, and technically I had 2 fathers, my birth father and my stepfather.
You got an extra father. You're special.
Yeah. But no, I had the benefit of a mum who stayed home, and I think it's terribly beneficial to it's incredibly beneficial to have like a stay-home parent and a working parent.
Yeah, a 2-parent household is the best thing for the child.
Yeah.
I was watching this YouTube channel called Just Pearly Things, and she was talking to a woman who used to be a radical feminist. Yeah. And she said, I've changed my ways. She says, I found a good man making good money, and I became submissive to him. He married me, and now I stay at home and take care of the kids, and I make sure he has everything he needs to do to go to work. And you should have seen the people just losing. Oh my God, yes. They're fucking losing their mind. It's so sad that you would put another person ahead of you in your life. And she says, look, I get my back blown out every night. She says, I'm having a damn good time, and you should try it. It's like, damn. And she's a good looking girl too. This person who's talking at this. So I'm sure the husband was happy.
No, but besides anything else, I would hope that all parents would put someone else before themselves, their kid.
Yeah.
Or kids, however many
there was
they
a feminist on the panel who said, if your husband and you fell out of love, what would you do? And the girl says, well, I would consider that a failure on my part. And you should see the eyes of the chick when she said that. She's like, and she says, my job is to work with him to keep a loving relationship going. She says, but if we had children, I'd stay with him until the children were 18. And I would show them that I still cared for him, even if I didn't, because it's to their benefit. Right. This isn't about me anymore. I have children. Now it's about them. Right. And the feminist, she was just like, I thought she was going to have a stroke.
My mom and dad, but they stayed on good terms, at least partially for my benefit, because they didn't want that kind of hostility. They didn't want me resenting the other parent. So
Right.
yeah, I mean,
it's not that I didn't not want to work, because I do work. I have a job because I have to support myself.
yeah.
But I've always had this thing, like, if you're not really that passionate about anything, then what you're doing is just manual labor at that
Mhm.
point. Whereas if you can find a relationship where you can make it work, where one person is making the money, and you can make it a support system, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, even if it gets to the point where, well, maybe your kids move out and you get a part-time just so you're not bored or something, I can understand that too. But like, not everybody has the passion for a career. And that actually does make a difference in terms of how your outcome with your career is.
I mean, I never had any passion for any of my jobs. And like the first chance I got to stop working, is like, yes, I'll do that, please.
You know, and there was parts of my mind where, you know, when I was younger, or even now, it was just like, you know, half of it is like, if even if I got a decent husband who was doing something great, half of the joy is knowing that I helped support him through it. You know, like, I might not be there doing the numbers, crunching it, making it happen, but knowing that I'm part of the support means that I was still sort of there. Did I do it? No, I'm not taking credit for his work, but you still got to experience some of what he did, because he's going to tell you about it. There is something to it. Like, you know, there were women who helped support the astronauts because they were capable of it, but there were women who helped support the astronauts because they helped get them there by being there for them. You know, like for those times where they needed the extra support at home. Sometimes that kind of stuff is useful too. And not every woman is capable. Like, I meet a lot of women online where I admire the shit out of them just because they're so talented. I wish I had half the brains or half the talent, you know, and I know women who run circles around me. I support them for having a career because I think they have talent.
Mhm.
But not every woman has that much passion to get that far. And not every woman has that talent. And what's wrong with just being happy with what you're happy with?
Sure.
Too.
See, I actually didn't have a problem with feminism to some extent, when they were like, women should have the right to work if they want, or raise a family if they want. Well, I mean, like, okay, I agree with that. They should have that choice. And then it started becoming, oh no, you're you know, a terrible woman if you become a stay-at-home mother. It's like, okay, no, you lost me.
Mhm. Let me
It
just
was-
interrupt real quick and say hello to Johnny Hellcat. Johnny is our host for tomorrow night's stream. And Cynic has just shown up in chat. Hey, Cynic.
Yeah. Cynic is taking Jack's role of turning up towards the end.
They
Get her earlier, Cynic.
they also forget that there's lots of things that women do at home. Like, it's not always just about making money. Sometimes it's about, like, if you were passionate about something. I've noticed that some of the feminists will switch bases based off of what you're interested in. So say the field of interest that you're in is actually something that women have been commonly known to be interested in before, like say textiles as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Women have been in that for a long time. We were just as equally pressing piss into sheep cloth as the men were. You know, so historically speaking, women have done that too. But it's like women in the kitchen cooking. You know, it's not men were chefs. So what's the problem with a woman being a cook? You know, now does every woman want to be the top chef? That's different. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you want to prove the talent. Sometimes you want to show off your talent. Sometimes you have just that much talent, or maybe you want to have your own little cooking empire. You know, there's people who are like that. And sometimes you just really enjoy knowing that your family's always going to be happy because you cook better than the chefs do.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes that little grandmother Italian whose spaghetti sauce is to die for, and you're just like laughing at, I don't know.
My grandmother was an amazing cook.
You know? Yeah. Go ahead.
My grandmother was came here from Czechoslovakia, and my dad was from Wales, and so she learned how to cook. You know, she was a person who cooked in Czechoslovakia, so when she came across, she brought all of her recipes with her. And no shit, there's a book just above our refrigerator that is a good 1.5 inches thick, just filled with all of her specific things that she wrote in her hand. They're not pulled from magazines or any of that kind of crap. Stuff she actually wrote down in that book. And I'm sure if I published that book, I'd be best-selling author, because everything that she ever made was so good. It was just so good. But you guys have anything else? You want to get out of here? It's 10:06.
This isn't really news, but it's more of just stuff that's happened to friends of the Minions. But Satsu passed his cooking thing, so he's got a certificate for it.
Yeah, I saw that, and he scored really high. He's got some kind of medal or honor or something like that. He's like top 1% of their class kind of deal. Did you see that? He got some kind of certificate that said he was like, you're a super duper wonderful guy and all that kind of stuff. So very impressive.
Yeah, I was going to I mean, I didn't last minute, but I was half tempted to tease him onto the show, you know, because I mentioned to him that he should do a stream to congratulate, but then I was like, you know what, if he just got that today, then he's probably congratulating with his family, which fair enough. So
maybe he'll show up on an after party or a monkey in the morning or something like that.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm gonna see if maybe down the road if I can ask him if he wants to visit us or something, because I haven't talked to him in a long time. And, but I always ask you guys, you know, and you and Terry.
Yeah, no, I'd love to have him on. Yeah. Another thing I want to mention for the rest of the crew out here before we get going is you'll find a new line in our description after the Discord. The description says help fight nonverbal autism, and it points you to a website called Project Hummingbird. If you guys get a chance to check out that link and think it's something you'd be interested in, feel free to pursue it. That'll show up in the description for all of the Minions hosts. Usually we put something in there. We used to have Poppy's GoFundMe for her eye was in there, that kind of stuff, for things that we feel that, you know, people might be interested in helping with. We usually put that after the link to Discord. So this is the latest thing that we've decided to add. So if you get a chance to check out that website, we would appreciate it. Otherwise, we could probably get out of here. You know what I'm going to do? Because Kieverdam liked Ilea so much, I think I'll play her again tonight. Just because Kieverdam likes her. So.
Sure, why not?
Why not? I think I'm going to do something special next week, too. I'm not going to tell you. It'll be a secret. You'll have to come by and see for yourself. In any case, thanks, fam, as always, chatting with us tonight. If you can't wait for the next Wednesday show, remember, the Minions are live every evening, including Wednesdays, including weekends, which with most hosts starting around 11:30 p.m. Eastern, 7 days a week. Hosts and times are listed in the description down below. We will be back next Wednesday at 9 p.m. as usual. I hope you guys enjoyed this show, and we'll see you again next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.